right, hey everybody, it's Jason Shadrick with Premier Guitar, and we're at the Fender booth with Chase, and we're talking pedals. You guys had a big launch last year with a handful of new pedals, and now we have 6 more to talk about. So we have a lot to get through, so tell us about what we heard on the intro there.
So on the intro, I had the MTG Tube Distortion going, which is a true tube distortion pedal powered by a 6205 preamp tube, new old stock, US made. Takes 9 volts in, but we kick that up to 150 volts to hit the preamp tube with similar voltages you would find in an amplifier. Right. So we've got a 3-band EQ, tightness control. We designed this in conjunction with Bruce Egnater, who is a legend in the tube amp world. So we wanted to make sure that we could leverage our friendships and have a good time collaborating on something like this. So.
And it's a rather high milliamp requirement for a overdrive pedal.
So it has a lot of current consumption, but the reasoning behind that is that most tube distortions that are out on the market now are pretty cumbersome in terms of the power supply that they use. They usually have to run on 18 or 24 volts, and you usually have the tube sticking out somewhere uncomfortable. Right. So we wanted to find a way of getting a tube to live inside our enclosures and also take 9 volts in. So it takes 9 volts in with 290 milliamps, so it'll run on your high output terminal.
And those are becoming so common now on power supplies that it's probably not usually an issue.
Right, and that was part of our belief behind this and a couple of the digital pedals that we've got here too, is that we wanted to make sure we had the firepower to do what we want to do to craft the sound that we had in our heads. So that gives you the dynamic control of using a true amplifier. You've got a boost with additional gain control and level control, so that way you have basically 2 different overdrive distortion sounds on there.
What does MTG stand for?
So our friends overseas are going to make fun of us for it.
Please.
But since it was a tube distortion, we obviously had the tube in mind, and so it's mind the gap. But don't tell anybody.
It's between us, man.
All right.
It's between us.
Thank you.
All right. So we got the Egnater MTG Tube Distortion here. What's next? What do you want to talk about next?
So the other thing that we heard at the beginning is the Pinwheel rotary speaker emulator.
Yep.
And so this has 2 very classic rotary speaker cabinets in mind for variations 1 and 2. They have a horn spinning one direction, the speaker spinning in another direction, so you get a really nice spread if you're using it stereo, or it sounds killer in a mono signal path as well. And then the third mode on there is voiced to sound like Fender's own Vibratone speaker cabinet. They used to have a single stationary speaker and then a spinning baffle in front of it. So you get some really cool low end and some really nice...
So is that with the mode switch? Is that how that...
Yeah, so modes 1 and 2 are different 2 like speaker and horn rotating cabinets. Okay. And then the third voice is a Vibratone.
Got it.
You have fast and slow speeds. You have drive, so you can push the front end like you'd be able to on an old preamp with a rotating speaker. True stereo in and out, and a voicing switch on the back that lets you use this for guitar. So you've got kind of a scooped EQ for guitar, and then a flat response for keyboards.
Oh, okay.
This is something we really want to make sure our keyboard playing friends could use, because rotating speakers are such a huge voice in the keyboard world, whether it's an organ or you try and run something like a Rhodes through something like this. It's a really beautiful sound.
What's the dynamic switch on the back here? What does that do?
So the dynamic switch there will enable or disable this control here, which is our sensitivity control. And we have that feature on all of our modulation pedals. And what that lets you do is lets you go back and forth between a slow speed and a fast speed without having to kick a foot switch on and off. You can dial it in as a threshold for your dynamics and playing. So if you want something to be really slow and rich sounding, like here we can go over to this guy on the phaser and get a really slow sweeping phase sound, to like a rapid, more kind of chaotic sound. You just dig in a little harder. And then you'll hear it ramp up and slow down. So we've got that on the Lost Highway phaser. We've got that on the Bubbler chorus. Both of these are analog. Not based on anything in particular. It was an original circuit design, just like the other 9 pedals we released last year. independent depth and rate controls for each one. You've got the dynamic sensitivity control, and you can also foot switch between the two.
All right, so we talked about the phaser. Let's hit this chorus now.
Yeah, so the bubbler chorus is a classic Bucket Brigade voiced chorus. You can toggle back and forth between sine and triangle wave.
All right, next up we have TreVerb, or Tre-Verb. TreVerb?
TreVerb.
TreVerb.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's our tremolo and reverb 2-in-1. When you think Fender amplifiers, you have to think reverb and tremolo. We wanted to make sure that we had, again, like I said with the tube distortion, we wanted to make sure we had enough firepower behind it. So this is the most advanced DSP that we've used. So the digital processing behind this is a little bit stronger, has a little more horsepower than what we've done before with the marine layer.
Yep.
So we've got 3 different versions of classic Fender reverbs. You've got a 63 voice reverb, which is just like a brown face reverb tank. 65 voiced reverb, which is like your deluxe reverb from the mid 60s. And then we also have a plate reverb on there, which is a really useful and fun studio reverb sound. And then on the tremolo side, you've got 3 different voices for that as well. You have an optical tremolo, you have a tube bias voice tremolo, and then the harmonic vibrato.
All right, well, let's hear some of it.
So you can hear, let's go to the 63. Really thick, springy. '65, you can do the same thing. You can get a little more dense. And then the plate, get that really cool, lush, ambient reverb. And then
Shimmery.
Yep. And then you've got a tone control here, so if you want to make it brighter, you can do that. Get a little sparkle, or you can roll it off and get really dark and moody. And then you can crank the blend, so it's basically like a 90-10 wet-dry mix. And so you get that really beautiful, swirly...
Almost no attack.
Right. And then on the tremolo side, you've got optical tremolo. So you feel that classic Fender pulsing tremolo. Tube bias. So it's a little bit sharper.
Harmonic is the third one?
Yep, and then harmonic vibrato like our old brown face amps. So you get a little bit of that kind of chorusy, phasey thing going on. And then if you want to change the path of whether you want to send the reverb into the tremolo or have the tremolo go into the reverb, you can do that via a little toggle switch on the back here.
All right, we saved the biggest one for last. The Downtown Express. So tell me what kind of player you guys had in mind when you went about designing this.
So the Downtown Express is our first pedal that is designed specifically for bass players. It is a 3-in-1 analog, basically one-stop shop for bass effects. So you've got compression, overdrive, EQ, direct out. You've got a main mute switch here, so you can run your tuner out and not have it in your signal path. You can basically take this to a gig and not have to worry about bringing an amplifier if you don't want to do that, and just run straight into the house. You have full control of your sound that way. You can use it at home as a preamp for recording. You have a lot of different options on here. You can change the order of compressed signal into overdrive, or your overdriven signal into the compressor. You can turn all these things on off individually. You can have them all together.
Excellent. So what'll be kind of the price range and availability on this line?
So these will all be released and available on March 19th. The Tube Distortion comes in at $199.99.
Yep.
The Lost Highway and Bubbler Chorus come in at $149.99. The Pinwheel and the Tre-Verb are $269.99, and the Downtown Express here is $249.99.
All right. So Chase, where can people go online to find out more information about all the pedals and everything else you guys are doing at Fender?
You can stop by Fender.com.
Great answer. We're going to have you play us out with the sound. All right. This is Jason Shadrick with Premier Guitar.